Good afternoon and welcome to the second edition of a special interview with the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Honorable Dr. Terrance Drew. I am Adelcia Conifer-Lance, Press Secretary to the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. With us today, we have representatives from a few media houses, Win FM, Mr. Devon Cornelius, from ZIZ, Ms. Carla Berridge, and SKN Newsline, Mr. Andre Huey. Okay. The interview is being streamed live on ZIZ Radio and Television, Freedom FM, Win FM, TV Caribbean, and SKN Newsline. We want to thank you for facilitating us. I simply ask that each media house alternate your questions, asking one question at a time, allowing the Prime Minister an opportunity to respond accordingly. Without further ado, I will hand over to the Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Terrance Drew, and allow him to give his opening remarks, after which the press will engage the Prime Minister on the matters relating to health, the poverty alleviation program, inter-regional travel, along with other matters of national interest. Okay, thank you. Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Press Secretary. It gives me great pleasure once again to sit and dialogue with the press live so that we can have the pertinent information going to the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I want to thank the press for being here. And this is really part of our agenda to be an open and transparent government where we would always seek to dialogue and get the accurate information to our people. And I'm pleased to have you here, of course, for another special interview, an opportunity to dialogue with me on significant developments within the Federation. Today I wish to share key developments within the Ministry of Health, the Poverty Alleviation Program, and inter-regional travel, among other things. Good health care is essential for maintaining a healthy population and ensuring a high quality of life for every citizen. It is my objective as Prime Minister and Minister of Health to ensure that the citizens and residents of our Federation receive quality medical treatment and preventative care when needed to reduce the likelihood of serious illness and chronic conditions through early detection and intervention, allowing for a greater chance of successful treatment and recovery. Access to quality health care is crucial in addressing health inequalities and reducing disparities in health. The overall health and well-being of our citizens are of paramount importance. The Cardin Home, for example, has been in dire need of assistance in terms of human resource and infrastructural renovations. It is our government's intention, your government, to provide the necessary support required to better the conditions for our elderly and healthcare professionals who are at the Cardin Home. This week, 10 new elderly care assistants were employed at the Cardin Home, supplying the required human resource to properly cater to our elderly. The assistants recently completed their certification course at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. Additionally, new furniture was provided. Deep cleaning is being done to improve the aesthetics of the venue, and efforts are being made to make further infrastructural changes. The Caribbean home is a priority of this government. Your government is also actively seeking a site for the new JNF General Hospital. We believe that a modern and fully equipped hospital with efficient trained staff is long overdue. We are seeking to construct a smart hospital. This is a necessity, not a choice. I appreciate the responses I've received from the public on the proposed new site. I would like to assure you that the recommendations provided are being taken into consideration, and I would have said to Mr. Cornelius today that I read his long response, which I appreciate. I saw one particular suggestion that was made by a citizen to transform the current hospital into a training hospital when the new JNF is built. This all-of-society approach to governance is crucial to the advancement of our federation, and that is why we wanted the input of our people. National health insurance is also critical. This is part of our universal health care plan. Again, this is a necessity, not a choice. Every day I get requests from citizens who need financial support to pursue or to receive medical treatment, and it is unsustainable in that way. What is sustainable is for us to have a national health insurance plan as part of our universal healthcare program so that our citizens can be covered in a sustainable way. Interregional travel. At the recently held 44th meeting of the CARICOM heads of government in Nassau, the Bahamas, I spoke extensively about the need for greater collaboration to make it easier for people to travel within the Caribbean region. In order to allow for free movement of people, skills, services, goods, capital, and other key resources within the region, we must address the issue of intra-regional travel in its entirety. The reality is that it is too difficult and too costly for us as Caribbean people to travel within the region and enjoy the benefits of true integration. Since then, St. Kitts and Nevis has made significant strides to address this issue. Starting this month, and I must give credit to the minister responsible, the Honorable Marsha Henderson, Inter-Caribbean Airways will be offering non-stop services from St. Kitts to Barbados and Puerto Rico starting Sunday, 12th March. And a carrier, Embraer 120 aircraft with a seating capacity of 30 seats will serve St. Kitts from Barbados 3 times weekly on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. We also will have flights with Puerto Rico. This is a significant step forward, not only for our Twin Island Federation, but also the entire Caribbean region. I must commend once again the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Marsha Henderson, her team, for working so hard on this as well. The Poverty Alleviation Program. By providing families and households that are below the poverty line proper access to food, financial assistance, and necessities, the PAP seeks to lower the rate of poverty within the nation. The program also helps to promote some growth within the economy. However, let me say that we promised that we would transform the PAP. As we said, we will mend the PAP. And we are now collecting the data, carrying out the feasibility studies, and the evaluation to determine what that new program would look like. What I can say to the citizens is that we promise that we will put a program in place really to alleviate poverty, which means persons might need more resources. Some might need less resources. But it will be a comprehensive approach as to how to deal with poverty in St. Kitts and Nevis. We want to rid our country of poverty. We have paid about 5,000 persons in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have 346 of the unemployed, 277 of the disabled, 1,898 of the elderly, 2,173 of low-income employees. And this will continue to be evaluated. I want to say from the onset is that we said that this will be evaluated within 6 months. Why is it important to evaluate it? There are persons who might change their status. They might be unemployed today and working tomorrow. And so that changed their status in life, and you might make the adjustments. God forbid, you might have somebody who dies, who is on the program. You need to reevaluate to see if that person is still, if you need to evaluate the program to determine these type of significant things. For example, the Social Security asks for an evaluation periodically, which is normal to do. It does not mean that if you are qualified to be on the program, that you will be removed from the program. But any prudent program will of course need periodic evaluation to determine if those who are on the program should be on the program still. They might have changed their status, or you might have persons who may not have been on the program who now will qualify to be on the program. And without such reevaluation, the dynamics of the program will not be addressed. And that is what we mean when we say we will evaluate whether twice a year to make sure that the program continues to serve its purpose until we transition into that more wholesome program, which is really to get rid of poverty. So we are committed to providing for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, as was pointed out. At this point, I will stop and give the press an opportunity to interact with me, and we can speak about my travels to Bahamas, where I attended my first CARICOM meeting. Many things were achieved there, and I think that is important that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis also know that. So I turn it over to the press to ask whatever questions you might want to ask.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister, and thank you once again for the opportunity. Devon Cornelius, Win FM. If I may begin on the topic of health, you spoke about the construction of a new hospital. How will it be funded, and what are we looking at in terms of cost? And the second part to that question is in relation to the possible new site, what you described as a possible new site. Can you speak to the size of that area of land, and has the government purchased the land as yet? Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Very critical question. First, let me start off by saying to our people, a new hospital is not a choice, it is a necessity. We need a smart hospital. Smart hospital meaning we need a climate smart hospital, and of course one that is technologically driven. Why do we need a smart hospital? With the changes in the climate, and all of us are aware of climate changes, we are expecting stronger hurricanes. We are expecting more dry seasons. We are expecting also the insidious changes that will take place. So therefore, the hospital that we have, based on what is taking place with the climate, it is not in good stead to withstand that. So this is not even a choice that we have in the matter. As a matter of fact, a lot of our infrastructure needs to change because we have to make the infrastructure more resilient, climate resilient. Our houses need to reflect that as well, not just the hospital. So I want to say we do not have a choice. The hospital where we're at, if we were to do some repairs there, as persons were suggesting, or upgrades, when you look at the scope of work of the upgrades that will be required, you might be running into a cost that can almost approach the cost of a new hospital. That's the other issue. With this new hospital, we'll be able to serve our people much better. We'll make sure that it is modernized. And we want this hospital to be accredited as well. One of the things that's hampering us is that we do not have an accredited hospital, which means we will need to make significant changes. Some of the human resources changes that we are already making at the present hospital. Now the cost of it, we have an estimation of a cost of it with everything. One of the costs that were given to us was $23 million to build the hospital without the equipment, and with the equipment could be another 10 to 15 million US dollars. We are looking at various sources of funding. One of them, of course, is a concessionary loan, which we are considering, very low interest with a grace period of about 3 to 5 years, and the payment plan is very, very affordable. That is one of the things that we are looking at this point in time. We'll seek donations also to help us to do that. So we have already we have a good source of funding already of about $50 million US, which is a good concessionary loan, which gives us that period of time in which we can pay it back. That's one. We can decide other routes in which we want to approach it. But just to say that we have an excellent source of funding and we will pursue it. Why would I pursue it? In the event we have, and we will have, we have to face reality. A natural disaster, and it really ravages our hospital. How can I, as a medical doctor, how can I know the information that I know with climate change and the hospital is not a smart hospital and not do anything about it? So something definitely has to be done, and that is why I think that we need to move forward with it. So I disclose a possible site. It is, we have about 7 acres there. The rest belong to entities of the government, NCI, education. So together that's about 15 acres. So we have about 15 acres of land. That land is virgin land, nothing has been built on it before, and where the land is most appropriate is right in front of the medical school, nursing school. You have Ross University. So the plan is to create what you call a healthcare hub right there. And we will build a research lab also. So when you get into that space, you're in a healthcare hub where the animals on one end, that is far end, that has become part of our culture, but we'll have the human, of course, separated from it. And all the research we'll do will take place at our lab, collaborating, of course, with the Ross University, because what we have what you call zoonotic diseases that can jump from one species to the next. So to really put St. Kitts on the map when it comes to research. So that will be a zone that when people enter that zone, that is, so we always want to create what you call a health city, a real one, where you'll have health of our people being taken care of. We'll have institutions that are there. Research will take place there. And we really look at completing this hospital in about 2.5 years. So we are working towards that. So in terms of the funding, we have already contacted a possible source of funding, a very reliable source of funding. In terms of the site, as was asked, we have access to the land, and therefore, with those two significant things, I think we can move forward. So I want people to know when I spoke about the new hospital, I was serious. I was serious for various reasons, and I was serious because I know we could have accessed the necessary funding to do it as well. So this is something I want this hospital to serve, not only St. Kitts, but to serve the neighboring islands. For example, St. Eustatius approached St. Kitts and asked how can we help in serving them when it comes to healthcare. We can serve the surrounding islands, but what that hospital will bring, it would attract a new set of people to St. Kitts and Nevis. There are people who don't come to St. Kitts and Nevis because we don't have a health facility that they consider to be of a certain standard. And therefore it means we'll make changes at the human resource level, training level, and so these significant changes need to take place. And I'm asking for those in the health sector to really come on board with the necessary changes that we need, because getting a hospital that is accredited means that even those persons would have access to quality health care, and it is fundamental. And with that, we also need national health insurance so that we can have a universal healthcare system. National health insurance is critical, it's important, is another safety net. Most people in St. Kitts die poor, even those who live solid middle class lives. For example, if you have a man who, let's say he was a PS, and was able to save over his lifetime a few $100,000, let's give him more than a few $100,000, a man or a woman. They get one illness. Everybody will get a catastrophic illness in their life. It's either you die right away, or you don't die right away, but you would need prolonged care. It is life. Everybody ends that way. In St. Kitts and Nevis, you get a catastrophic illness, and you see how quick $300,000 disappear. Your family members have to go and take a loan to take care of you. They put up your house that you're supposed to leave for them for a loan to fly you out or to take care of you at the end of life. I see it all the time. People who live prudently, good lives, that at the end of their life, they get a catastrophic illness. Right now, cancer is the #1 cause of death in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I look around us in the room and I can count and say how much of us will end up with cancer. how many of us will end up with cancer. It's just a reality. And most people in St. Kitts can't afford it. 90% of people in St. Kitts can't afford it. Maybe more than that. Because if you were to give people the treatment, the full cost of treatment for chemotherapy, you'd be surprised to know how expensive these medications are. And that's just part of the treatment. That has nothing to do with doctor visits, CT scans, sometimes PET scans, sometimes having to go overseas, radiation. Nobody can save enough money to take care of themselves facing a catastrophic illness. And that is why I'm asking our people to do like we did with Social Security. We pool our money as a pool, but I will ask the people to contribute to it. Next, PAHO is here right now. I'm having a high-level meeting with PAHO next week and the Ministry of Health. And on that agenda is national health insurance. We have some proposals before us, and we need to now discuss it at that level so that we can bring something to the people. Because we want the people's input. We want to hear from the people. Do you think it is a good thing to do? If you don't think so, why not? This is the way we might propose. Do you think we should modify it? Because we want the people to be involved, because at the end of the day, we will be asking the people to contribute to national health insurance. And I think if we were to achieve that, and I think there's a good chance of achieving it, and as a medical doctor, I will take the political risk of asking people to contribute, because I am fed up of seeing people dying poor, of people dying because they can't get treatment. I had patients before who would say, Dr. Drew, I'm going home and die because I'm not going through this treatment, I can't afford it, I have to sell my house, what will I leave for my children? Those are decisions that people make in St. Kitts all the time. I have a patient who come by me who had an injury, broken bones, needs surgery, $20,000 for the surgery. Sent the invoice to the office of the Prime Minister. And I see that all the time. I have set up a fund for children. Just recently, maybe 2-3 days ago, we are sending 2 children to Cayman to have heart surgery. One cost 30,000 US, the other cost 70,000 US. That is the cost of healthcare. And our best chance of beating it is having a good healthcare system, an accredited institution, and national health insurance. There is no other way around it. Otherwise, the people will continue to suffer, and those who suffer many times suffer silently. But because of my profession, I know the level of suffering, and that is why I think it makes sense for us to really come together as a people, as a country, and pool our resources by contributing from our incomes and wages so that we can have a pool so that we can take care of our people when it comes to health. There's hardly any other way we can think about it that will make sense. But that, of course, needs dialogue with the people, conversations with the people, and that is what we intend to do.
Calabares, that is a broadcasting corporation.
Yes.
It has been indicated, Dr. Drew, that the JNF hospital is taking steps to improve care to patients. Recently, there has been information about a new triage system that includes retired nurses. Can you give us some more information on that?
Right. So what is happening at the JNF is the wait time. Sometimes you go to the JNF and you may not have seen any health professional for sometimes an hour, 2 hours. We have asked the retired nurses to come and to be the triage nurses. Triage requires a high level of expertise because it is a triage nurse who determines whether you need urgent care, you can wait, or whether they can send you to see your doctor the next day. They are the gatekeepers. And so having the retired nurses there with the relevant expertise and experience helps in that. So I think most people who go to the hospital now would see a nurse in very quick time. What has been delayed a bit is the time that the doctor sees you, between when the nurse sees you and when the doctor sees you. And we are addressing that. This week we are bringing on 4 new doctors who will work in the A&E, 2 of them very experienced, and the other 2 who are very, very competent. And they are coming in the A&E starting either this week or next week, so that we can strengthen the cadre of doctors within the A&E so that we can help to decrease the speed time and people can be seen by the doctor in a quicker way and be treated very effectively. So that is what we did there. Other things we did there, we trained our healthcare professionals, over 250 of them, in what you call BLS, Basic Life Support, ACLS, Advanced Cardiac Life Support, and PALS, because our health professionals needed to be certified. Many of them were working there not certified. That is a dangerous situation. We have even gone as far to make sure now we have started a course for the EMTs. The EMS service, the EMS will be improved significantly. The EMTs, we have started their program already, and they have started where we're going to carry them from basic all the way up to paramedic. No longer do we want people to show up in an ambulance without the requisite training. And so we are making sure we take care of that. I want to thank Ross University at this time, who will also be partnering with us to make sure that we can train our EMTs to international standard. And so in our health leadership meeting yesterday, we discussed that, but that has started. If you look again, Carla, we have also started, we are about to start with Mrs. Adelcia King, Bradley King, who is someone who is an expert in customer service training and training of personnel and so forth, that she's now carrying out a study at JNF to see what are the issues, because we know that when people, there have been a lot of complaints about customer service at the JNF. We are doing an assessment right now, a scientific assessment to see the extent of that. Once we would have determined the extent of that, we are going to put a plan in place to deal with customer service. So we have a lot of programs running at the JNF. We tend to change a number of critical things, like nurses who have to register yearly. Next week in Parliament, I am bringing a bill which will pass into an act so that nurses can register every 2 years. Plus, we will make some other adjustments. Other things we are looking at the hospital. For example, you see the nurses in caps and belts and so forth, doctors in ties. We have, studies have shown that these things carry, we call them formites, and these things carry bacteria and can cause more infections and infectious diseases. And therefore, you might see a change in the nurse's uniform because there's a scientific reason for that. As you know, when you travel to the United States and you go in there, you see the nurses in scrubs. Correct? They're in scrubs, not just because it's convenient, but because it makes scientific sense. The less you have on, the less chance you have of spreading diseases. You just need to cover yourself enough and not have too much extra that will carry bacteria and viruses and so forth. And so we are making those changes. I know when changes are to come, that there sometimes can be a natural inertia, but I'm asking, that we join customer service, scientific training. The other thing we're going to do is to allow nurses to specialize in different areas. All nurses now do midwifery, but we need nurses specializing in internal medicine, in pediatrics, in surgery, in anesthesiology, in ICU. And we have very, very few specialist nurses in other areas outside of midwifery at the hospital. Very, very few, and that is not an exaggeration. How much ICU nurses we have who are trained at ICU nurses presently? I don't think we have any. There are nurses who are excellent and competent because there are good nurses who would have worked in ICU for some time. But we don't have specialist ICU nurses. And so we are going to create training opportunities, whether through scholarships or collaboration with other countries, which we have reached out to. For example, I reached out to Canada, and Canada is responding well for our hospital to connect with Dalhousie University, for example. The University of Hamburg Medical Center wants to connect with JNF. That's something I've done in 2019, and I'm going to set up the sickle cell clinic here in St. Kitts so that it can serve the OECS. And so we are very serious about this. The changes must come, but I would say that we want all on board with respect to the positive changes so that we can improve health. St. Kitts is small enough. There's some advantages to being small. When you're small enough, you have everything concentrated, and so your resources can be more impactful in terms of helping those who need to be helped. And so we are saying to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that we are transforming healthcare, not just from an infrastructural standpoint, as is within your hospital, but from the standpoint of improving the human resource, customer service training, certification training, upgrading the EMS, scholarships to specialize, the MRI machine that is to come, the equipment for eye surgery. Part of it is here, and I want to update the people that part of it is here, and we're waiting for the other part to come. Because when we got there, there was no equipment to operate on the eye. And I know people are blind right now because they can't get operation. We expeditiously, once found out, sought to import by them. We have already gotten the scan. We're waiting on the microscope, which is being sourced in the United States, and we're hoping that we get it as soon as possible. And for those who have the eye ailment, I want to tell them that help is on the way. We have already purchased the equipment. We are waiting for the last part of the equipment to arrive so that we can resume eye surgery. Again, I have procured new dialysis machines, which are in Canada at this point in time, because we need redundancy in our dialysis service. So what I'm saying here, just recently again, we had a major problem at the oncology unit where the mixing of drugs in a particular cabinet, and the cabinet was found to be faulty for a few years. We changed it out, put in a new one, and brought the necessary people to retest it. And now it has passed, so we can mix the drugs and give our people chemotherapy. We want to go into radiation therapy. We are looking at the cardiac home where we're doing significant work as well. And so health would need an overall approach. We'll have to do an overhaul. It will need necessary changes. It will cause some pain here and there. But I think at the end of the day, the health workers, the patients, of course, the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis would be very satisfied to know that real effort is being made to improve the service for all.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Andre Huey, SK Newsline. On the same topic of health, and I think you answered part of it regarding the improvement of the human resource in terms of customer service, but also, even as it relates to the funding of the new hospital, yes. Could the government, or did the government look at the option of using CBI, the CBI vehicle, as a means of raising the funds and, by extension, reducing the debt level of the country?
Right, but we have looked at that as well. That we have looked at, and that is a real possibility as well. So we have not excluded that at all, right? We have not excluded that at all. So I said that to show that we have real options, that the funding of this hospital, worst case scenario, we have access to the resources. So we are going to pursue this.
I've received, I should say, complaints from police officers concerning mold at the Charlestown police station, and also reports of mold at the Datebay police station.
Good.
What is the Ministry of Health and National Security doing in response to this?
Right, and I'm happy that you received those reports. And I want to say to the police officers that as the Minister of National Security, that I appreciate their work, encourage them to continue to work hard. And I want to wish the new police commissioner all the best in his new post. Commissioner Sutton and his team, all the best. With respect to Datebay, we have already allotted the money to deal with Datebay. It is with Public Works at this time. And we need to get the Datebay police station done. We have addressed it, we have moved the police officers, but we need to get it done. So it is being addressed. And with respect to the Charlestown police station, that is also being addressed. We have located an area where we have to rent to move them out so that we can deal with the issues of mold at the Charlestown police station. So we are addressing both of them, and good that you asked the question, and I'll make sure that the PS gives an update with respect to what we are doing with these, in these two situations.
And is there a time frame?
Right, well, I want it to be done as expeditiously as possible. I've asked for it to be done. I would be honest, sometimes the bureaucracy of government slows down things sometimes. And I think people can get frustrated sometimes, and rightfully so at times. However, I ask for patience, but nonetheless, it's a health issue, and we need to address it. So the resources are not the issue, it's just that the mechanism through which to get it done, we have to make sure we work through it.
Mr. Prime Minister, are there plans to forge more partnerships to expand interregional travel? And with these plans, is it expected that more Caribbean nationals will seek to come to St. Kitts, whether for jobs or to live?
Right, that's a very good question. We will forge more partnerships. For example, and to be open, I know you can remember when I came to the Governor General's installation, Dame Marcel Liber, that I was a bit late. I was in St. Lucia at a meeting that was dealing with intra-regional travel, and my lateness is a testimony to the issues that we have. We are seeking other areas. I said to them in that meeting that we, as St. Kitts and Nevis, were forging a way. I went to the CARICOM and I said in the heads of government meeting, when I was given the opportunity to speak, I included regional travel as a fundamental plank of my speech. And I said then that St. Kitts and Nevis is forging to resolve the situation, and we ask other countries within the CARICOM to also partner to help to resolve it. So we will partner with other countries within the CARICOM. We will partner with other with financial institutions, and we'll partner with other airlines if we have to. But we know so far we will make a significant dent in the issue, as persons can travel to Puerto Rico and Barbados and make one-stop connection if they don't get a straight flight to St. Kitts. And not only that, once you get to any of these ports, you can go. You go to Barbados, you can go all the countries down south. You get to Puerto Rico, you can go to the Virgin Islands. And then we'll seek to set up a couple other flights so that we can resolve the issues to the Virgin Islands and so forth. So we're looking for partnership, and we are hoping to have partnership. Why this is so important to us, and I said it when I was in those meetings, our second largest pool of visitors come from the region. Point blank. Our largest pool is from outside, maybe North America, some parts of Europe and so forth. But our second largest pool comes from the region. So this is a no-brainer. It means if people can travel to St. Kitts and Nevis at will within the region, we are losing millions of dollars. And so we have to make necessary steps to ensure that people can travel to and from St. Kitts with relative ease. So I will say, Carla, yes, we will forge more partnerships where possible.
There's a concern that the board of the SWMC and the GM, there has been an appointment, Solid Waste Management Corporation, and the GM, the general manager. There are questions as to why is it taking so long, and are there efforts to help or to see to it that the corporation recover outstanding balances from other statutory bodies that would have obligations to SWMC and also SCASPA, any other statutory body?
Good. Well, I think that SCASPA has now started to make sure that they pass what belongs to solid waste. So solid waste, I think, is getting back on a very good footing. The process of getting the leadership at solid waste, the interview process has been taking place, and I think we are on the verge now of announcing a general manager and the other positions that are to be filled. Let me say that we met solid waste in dire straits. Solid waste was broke in local parlance. In other words, solid waste had run out of money, and therefore we had to subsidize it. And it is now on good footing. For example, a lot of money was taken from solid waste and sent to NHC in a type of arrangement that we're still trying to understand. And we thought that that would not have been the best thing to do for solid waste. But we are moving quickly to get solid waste back to good financial situation, and it's working. A lot of the money might come from the cruise ship, hotel industry, and so forth, and we see the industry. Let me say, while I'm talking about the industry, St. Kitts is the last. St. Kitts is behind in terms of recovery of the tourism industry. You know why? Because we were the last to open up. We opened up on the 7th of August. Had we opened up 3 months early in May when we could have, we would have almost reached 100%. So the rest of the countries in the union going like that. St. Kitts is going up, but we are lagging a little bit behind because we waited about 3 months late. So that decision was a decision that is costing us millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. That is why sometimes persons have to be mindful of the type of decisions they made. The government then made a bad decision to open up the country late, or not open it up at all, on political grounds, I must add, because the scientific data was there. I remember having that meeting on the 7th of August, a Sunday night, first meeting, and I asked for the scientific data. And I knew that we could have opened up, but what I didn't know is that the data was so good that we did not need any testing. And when I made the decision, people were saying, oh, St. Kitts going to have COVID cases and look out for the winter and all these things. Even if we had gotten COVID cases, we would have taken the necessary decisions, because remember, we had amended the Public Health Act and removed that COVID thing that they used to draconianly to shut down the country. And we made that scientific decision, and we can see how it's bearing out. The economy is recovering, tourism is back. There has not been any significant cases of COVID, but we have to now learn to live with COVID. COVID is not going anywhere. All of us in here had COVID, whether we knew it or not. And that is why partly why we have not seen this spike of hospitalizations, because we have some level of immunity, whether we took the vaccine or whether we got it through other means. But we think that our immunity is at a point where we can resist it. I say that to tell you that the lag, as I spoke about solid waste and coming back of the tourism industry, to tell you that we are lagging behind because we opened late. So we have lost millions of dollars. Those millions of dollars could have done a lot more. Could have done a lot more for poverty, could have done a lot more for education, could have done a lot more for health. But the loss of those millions of dollars, of course, would be felt in some way, but we are seeking to mitigate that.
You reported in Parliament recently that more than $20 million is unaccounted for at the Development Bank. Where is the forensic audit report to confirm that?
Right. So let me say this clearly. I kept saying that there was an audit being done, but I didn't stress on it because we needed the pertinent information. And we thought if people were alerted, then information would disappear or people would not speak. The forensic audit has been completed by an external firm, a reputable firm that has worked with St. Kitts and Nevis. It's 193 pages long, has some damning information in it, such as I spoke about $20-something million in cash that is missing. That has nothing to do with money being missed in other ways, but we know that the law will have to follow its course. That is too much money not to ask the pertinent question. Somebody has to answer. Why? So between opening up the country late and the money missing in Development Bank, we are talking about $50 million. I am suspecting that it could have been close to up there. But the Development Bank alone, 20-something plus million dollars missing in cash. And we need to know, where has that money gone? Who is responsible? So the law, I think, would have to follow its course.
And if I could add to that, is there a time frame by when the report will be released for public scrutiny?
Well, I think that there is a process, the legal process. I can't give you a time at this time, Cornelius, but I will say as soon as is possible, we will do it, because we believe that the information should be had by the public.
There are speculations about the delayed payment of the poverty alleviation program for February. Would you be able to clarify as to why the payments were delayed? Well,
the payments have been made, I would say, and those who didn't receive in January, they will receive a double this month, today at least, the latest day. As I said before, the PAP had a lot of corruption in it, a lot of irregularities, and we had to go through a process of cleaning that out to know where we are at. And that took some time. You're talking about thousands of names. And that took some time. Took some time to properly digitize it, took some time to properly evaluate persons who should be on the program. Took some time, really. And now we have taken the time and we have been able to pay out about 5,000 people. And that's a significant number. That was the reason, Carla. And as I said before, we are now looking to, we have already started the study of the new program that is to come, that is to mend the PAP. And I would just want to remind people, this is only a 6-month-old government, only 6 months old, and look at the significant things that we have done. 6 months, inter-regional travel, opening up the country. Look at the financial support that we have given, significant amount. Look at what we have done in healthcare for children and so forth. We have made some significant decisions. Look at the bills we have passed. And it's a busy parliament. In 6 months, look at the number of bills that we have passed. And therefore, we are very, very proud of what we have done. Is there room for improvement? There's always room for improvement. I'm always looking for ways to improve. Would it be perfect? It will never be perfect. But can we do good? Yes, we can do good. And that is what I'm striving for every day. And so that is why we were late. There was a lot of speculation as to why, but as we said, we will clean up the system and then we'll present this to the people, which will be a sanitized system. And while we are doing that, we are now planning to move into our new and different poverty alleviation program. That program will be premised on this principle, like the MEND used to be. What why are you in poverty? What is your condition? And what can we do right now to lift you out of poverty? If you remember the MEN program and the Y Rise program in Nevis, they were European funded partnering with St. Kitts and Nevis, and the program was an excellent program. What we were disappointed in is that time was not taken to properly put the program in place to really rid St. Kitts and Nevis of poverty. We had an opportunity had been lost, and we are seeking to once again create that opportunity so that our people can live the best lives that they can live in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay. This is one question, but it's actually follow-ups on several issues. For example, the prison project, which you basically inherited from the previous administration.
Right.
The solar project at the Kim Collins Highway, and the new Bastia High School, as well as the Peace program.
Right.
Where are we with those matters?
Peace and Bastia High.
Bastia High.
The Bastia High School, as you know, we know that $14 million have been used already on the Bastia High School, and we can't see anything. As we say, it was to manage dirt. $14 million spent and nothing to show for the Bastia High School. We have allotted another $7 million in there, because there's going to be a multi-year type of process to get the new Bastia High School. So we are going to, I think they have started demolishing the Bastia High School already, yes. From my last update from the Minister of Health, the Honorable Education, the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, and I want to thank him for his work with dealing with the Bastia High School. They have already started to take it down. We're going to take it down, we're going to clean it. We're also going to have the rendering of the, we're also going to do the bidding, because we want the plans be drawn now of the Bastia High School, because you change a site, so you're going to need new plans. So the Bastia High School is well on its way. That's one. The second thing with education, before I come back to the other thing he spoke about, is with respect to the Autistic Center, the Spectrum Center. The Spectrum Center, which we'll build, we already have the plans for it. We already secured the funding for it. And so I want the parents of children who are on the spectrum to know that something new is coming. And we hope to finish that by next year. So that will be a Spectrum Center where our children who are on the spectrum can be treated with the best scientific approach. And so we have started that. And that was just by the way of talking about health. He spoke about the prison project, correct. Now the prison project is what we inherited. That had been signed by the previous administration. Of course, we thought that it would have been better to do housing than to go to a prison, because at that particular time, or to spend so much what was being spent. Not that a prison is not important, but we are thinking more of a rehabilitation center instead of just a prison to just lock down people. But that was inherited, and we are looking at the mechanics of it and see what can be done. I will tell you what is our priority. Our priority right now is housing. We are asking those persons in the CBI program and so forth to divert to housing. We are really serious, and today or tomorrow we are going to put out our launch of our housing initiative. We have decided that we want to build a significant number of houses in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we are going to do it. We are going to use the CBI program to leverage the building of homes here in St. Kitts and Nevis. There's a generation of persons who are living with their parents, go to college and come back living with their parents, and therefore we want to change that situation. And so we're going to really look towards housing through the CBI program. With respect to the Peace program, a whole re-registration and analysis of the Peace program was done. I want people to know that we had not stopped payments. We just make sure that we took out any signs of misuse and abuse of the financial resources, which was significant, not by the members of the Peace program, but by part of the leadership of the Peace program. Abused it. And money was funneled through the Peace program into people's pocket. It was abused and misused, not by those who are on it, but some of those, not all of them. Most people who led it were generally good people. There were very few bad actors, but actors who had real power when it comes to the Peace program, who misused it for various reasons. And I think he asked about the peace, the Bastille High School, and the prison project. All right? Okay, good.
All right. We understand that an injunction has been granted to prevent the government from deporting the Haitian detainees. Can you give some more information on that as
Right.
Minister of National Security?
And that is a very good question. First, let me say that the Haitian situation has always been a situation dear to my heart. As a student, as we all have been, and also as a student who likes history, and especially likes black history, I've studied the Haitian situation. And it bleeds my heart to see that a country that was so proud, fought for its independence and liberation so early in the struggle, had to be suffering for so many years because it dared to ask for freedom of black people. Just recently at the CARICOM, we discussed the Haitian issue. Since I came, I've been discussing the Haitian issue since August in multiple online fora with other leaders from the CARICOM and also especially with the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau was at the CARICOM this last time. As you know, I referred to him in my opening statements in my speech, and we had the opportunity to meet and discuss. And we had decided that we need action on Haiti. We think that having a strong Haiti is the best way to go. Haiti has millions of people. The OECS has about 650,000 people. That's a town in Haiti, if we want to talk about real numbers. We are extremely small in terms of size and in terms of population as well. And the Haitian situation is a situation where, by reports, the gangs have been empowered. And as they have been empowered, the security situation in Haiti has become very dire. And therefore, there are ways in which we are looking at how to strengthen the security situation in Haiti so that the country can continue as a country. However, recently, we have been having some boats that have been going from south through our waters to other countries close to us. Two of the boats, their engine shut down. And so the boat with the passengers was stranded. Our Coast Guard picked them up and actually fixed the engine for the boat. But if you pick up people, you have to treat them with respect and treat them humanely. And so we took them on because we can participate in human trafficking. These people were trafficking human beings. They are being paid a lot to transport the Haitians. Let us not think that this is some raft that's come from Haiti down to St. Kitts. These are people who understand what is happening in Haiti and they are participating in human trafficking. So our Coast Guard took them on. This is not the first one, the second one that I know of since I've been the Prime Minister. And so we treat them with respect. My first thing to them, you have to treat them with respect. You have to treat them humanely. These are our brothers and sisters from the region. However, the decision is we cannot participate in human trafficking. And therefore, we must follow the law and the rules and regulations. That if persons enter the water illegally, we must take the necessary actions, which we are taking. That is what we are doing. And if somebody uses the law to file an injunction or whatever grounds, then that is the law. We respect the law. But what we will always say is while they are here, they must be treated respectfully and humanely and not be abused. And then let the law take its course. However, we must not send the message that we are safe haven. We are 50,000. If you send a message out there that you are safe haven, you are easily overrun. There's a risk. And then you cannot participate also in human trafficking. And so it is a difficult question. I'm not even pretending that it's an easy question. And that is why we are participating with the CARICOM. And there's another high-level meeting after a visit from CARICOM, from one of the CARICOM prime ministers in Jamaica to address the issue more wholesomely. So we are addressing it wholesomely with CARICOM. Whoever comes here, we will treat them with respect, but we'll follow the law and we will not participate in human trafficking. But our hat is with Haiti, and we want the best for the Haitian people, and we want the best outcome possible. And CARICOM is determined to work with other partners to help to strengthen the Haitian security situation so that things can get better there.
The St. Kitts Diabetes Association continues to collaborate with various stakeholders, Ministry of Health, for instance, in spreading information about diabetes. Now, the association has been experiencing some challenges in terms of a venue for their quarterly meetings. The question is being asked if anything is being put in place to assist the association in finding a venue.
Well, if the association is, I met with the association sometime and I pledged my support. I am open. The association know that the Office of the Prime Minister is open to the association to assist, because it's important that the association continues. And if there are issues with a venue, I would say that we need to resolve it, and we can resolve it. And I would reach out. Thank you for bringing it to my attention that the association is having issues with a venue. I would ask my office to reach out, and we can assist. We have different places for the venue that the government can help to assist with, and we should assist. Diabetes is an NCD, a leading cause of morbidity, which means death and illness, and therefore anybody who is working hard to deal with diabetes is a friend of the Ministry of Health and a friend of the government and a friend of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we will do our part to assist.
There are concerns being raised about the limited human resource of the fire service in St. Kitts and Nevis with the increase of bushfires and different types of fires across the country. What steps or will your administration take to address this matter?
Well, we are looking at it. I've asked the PS to do an analysis of the fire service. We met a fire service that is in shambles structurally. There are good firemen there, and I know they can respond to anything. So I'm not really too concerned that they can respond. What has happened is that the structure of the fire service, though, and how it is managed, left a lot to be desired. Why? There were people becoming firemen and women without doing exams. No structure in how you advance. I mean, it has, and these are people who, if you give them an exam, they might pass. But when you listen to the stories of how that fire service, so right now we are in the process of doing an assessment and restructuring the human resource. We don't lack bodies. We have a fire service that is oversubscribed. But the way it is managed, it is a serious problem. And therefore, we are bringing that structure back into order. So I think we'll be able to respond. And I think we're going to move expeditiously to make sure we make the acting chief. We are working now to have a permanent chief so that we can bring proper leadership to the organization, which would result in it being able to respond. So that is where we are at. And I know we'll be able to respond. And so once I get that report, I would address it as the minister for that area. But it is being addressed at this time. But we have more than enough persons in the fire service at this time.
Air Canada has recently suspended some flights to some Caribbean islands, and this is due to a law that was passed in Canada because of a shortage of pilots worldwide. Will the passage of this law in Canada affect flights to St. Kitts through Air Canada?
Right. I can't say that I have that information right now because I would need an update on it, but I'm aware that this is a possibility. We know that there's a shortage because pilots were out for 2 years. A lot of them lost their licenses and so forth, and they have to come back and stream in terms of that. So we will look at and see how this would affect us at this time. But to have the specific information that we will be affected, I cannot say that I have it at this time, but it's something that I'm aware of, but I have not been informed that is affecting us.
You made mention of the trip that you made to the Bahamas, the meeting that you attended. Can you give us an update on that?
Right. So the trip to Bahamas was my first CARICOM meeting, the 44th session. I want to say that the Prime Minister Davis, who took over the leadership of the CARICOM at this time, the chairman, we want to really thank him for the hospitality he showed to us, and it was a well-organized session. And we had many things discussed there. But I would like to say that we had achieved a lot as a country. It was my first, I had the opportunity to speak to the whole delegation. But apart from that, we were the first country to sign MOUs with the African Bank. Let me say that the African Bank has really brought to the fore the opportunity to introduce a lot of money, a lot of financial resources into our own economy. You know, we are excited that the region can have the opportunity to develop a good relationship with the African Bank. The bank has been going from island to island throughout the CARICOM to see what opportunities there are for investment. We are looking to see if we can get monies in to help with our systems, to help to launch new industries or improve industries. For example, one of the MOUs that we signed was a MOU with El Suedi, which is a company from Egypt that is into energy, that is associated with the African Bank, to see if we can get power in terms of geothermal and solar energy. That is a possibility to look at. We've also signed an MOU with a fishing company, well, a processing, let's say processing, so that we can produce fish in fillet form and ship outside of St. Kitts and Nevis. So we were the first country to go that far, and it has generated a significant amount of excitement because, you know, as we have opportunities for monies to come in to help with our systems and to help to upgrade our infrastructure and to help to resolve part of our energy issue and so forth, that would, of course, be an exciting opportunity. So we were able to do that. The second thing is we were able to really make some advancement with respect to intra-regional travel. And I think that the message of how serious this is was reached. And I know that there are countries that are actually working actively, and we are speaking to countries about how we can partner as well. One of the options that came up, of course, from Antigua fundamentally was late 2020. How can we get that airline off the ground to serve the region? So from our perspective, we were able to extract that. The other things that we look at was the Haitian situation. And as I spoke about it a little bit earlier, and we're able to actually have a communique and reach a position on Haiti, which is really to help to strengthen the security situation in Haiti so that Haiti can have its best chance of recovery and advancement. And so we also talk about food security. And at this time, President Ali from Guyana presented, he is the leader on issues of food security, where he was able to present actually a roadmap to how the CARICOM can become more food secure. I would say that Guyana has a lot of resources now. Oil, it has financial resources, but apart from that, it has other type of resources, land, water, that gives it the opportunity to produce more. And so in collaborating with the Guyana and all of the countries, we see a pathway in which we can actually improve our food security. There's a $30 million that was put there that will serve the CARICOM region in terms of helping to solve the food security matter. And St. Kitts, of course, would have the opportunity to do that. At that meeting, we also had the president of Ukraine, who made a presentation and interacted with the CARICOM. As you know, CARICOM's position is that we are against the war of Russia against Ukraine. That's our official position. So apart from all those things, I think the highlight was the caucus with Trudeau. I had the opportunity myself to speak with him and to really ask him about the visa situation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I'll give that a little bit more time to see where that will go. But that was an important. But I had the opportunity to speak with the ambassador from the European Union, where we discussed issues of the CBI program and so forth. So there are a number of critical things that we did discuss at CARICOM. And I will say that CARICOM was a fruitful meeting. Real things came out of CARICOM. At least we came back with an MOU, somewhere to go, a decision on Haiti, food security, and discussions of where we are with the war on Ukraine and so forth. And so the African Bank, which has generated a lot of excitement because of monies that can come into the region and help us with our advancement and forward moving. So CARICOM was useful, and it was an excellent meeting.
Another update that I would like to get from you, Prime Minister, has to do with the hush puppy investigation. I know the last we heard on that, from that, the Attorney General would have granted permission for the law enforcement authorities here to provide information to the FBI. Where are we with that? And while you're on that as well, during the course of December, the Public Infrastructure Minister would have spoken about the water situation, the acute water shortage that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Where are we with that in terms of solutions, permanent solutions to that?
Good. So the hush puppy matter for the FBI and so forth is a very serious matter. And they have, I mean, they had asked as he had updated, and he has responded and he has complied. And he and we are waiting for, at this point in time, to see what will be the outcome with respect to that matter. So that matter had become an international matter, and therefore we are working with partners to make sure that we participate where we are in the process, or in the business of working with others to protect international security. So I would say that the AG has done that, and he will be able to give an update at the right time. But that is where we are at. We have already complied and waiting to see where we go from there. Right, with respect to December and water shortage, that is a very good question. As you know, we had contacted BEAD. BEAD has reported to us that because their machinery, their rig was down for so long that when they went to use it, they had to replace a lot of pads, and that has caused some delay. Nonetheless, we are on the verge again of finding a solution. We are looking for a diesel plant of about 3 million gallons that would help to solve the problem. So we are on the verge of actually doing that. But apart from that, remember we had developed an arrangement with Marriott where we would get water. So we're actually getting water from Marriott that is supplying a lot of this area and half Moon Frigate Bay over on the peninsula. And that is actually allowing us to keep more water in the tanks in town. And that is why I can say that people are not crying out for water at this time. There's hardly any place in St. Kitts where people don't have water at least once a day. Hardly any place, if there's any at all. And that is because we have put that plan in place to make sure, just as you see people not bawling either for outages, because we had to buy new generators to make sure that we deal with the outage of electricity situation, which we are heavily subsidizing, by the way, and looking for a permanent solution. So we are dealing with the water, and we are dealing with the electricity or the power situation, but we have not totally resolved them as yet. But we are on a pathway of doing that, especially the water. I think the energy might take us a little bit longer, but we have solar energy, geothermal, which I just signed recently to get $16.5 million from CDB to help with the development of the geothermal. And I think the Premier of Nevis, well, the Premier of Nevis would have spoken to it as well. And he and I, we are collaborating extremely well on that, the geothermal matter, to look at it as a national, a federal asset so that all can benefit. Right. So that was the water matter, and that was the hush puppy. Okay. All right.
I want to thank you, Prime Minister, for availing yourself to the media.
If you allow me to make some announcements, just quickly. Thank you very much, and I'll let you go. I want to say that the student loan, we have already started the process to bring student loans down to 5%. We are going to launch that very, very soon. The housing program, which will be launched at least virtually between today and tomorrow. We spoke about the hospital and the funding of. We spoke about the water matter. We spoke about the African Bank when I referred to the MOUs and the excitement that this has brought to get new monies into our country. We also touched on the issue of healthcare, and I want to say that the Committee for Minimum Wage has met and is meeting to discuss the minimum wage for our people. but I want our students to know that we are going to help them. We think that people should have the opportunity to get an education, irrespective of whether they are rich or poor. Housing is critical because we want people to have the opportunity to own homes and also to provide jobs. And so while tourism has picked up and doing well, small businesses we are refinancing, we want to make sure that construction and the building out of infrastructure is also part of the rebuilding of our economy. So I wanted to make those. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, Press Secretary.
Thank you again, Mr. Prime Minister, again for availing yourself to the media, and thank you to the media houses for coming out today for a special interview with the Prime Minister, the second edition of that. I'd also like to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in, and for our media houses for carrying us live today. We'll be back with another episode, our edition of special interview with the Prime Minister next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much.